Dilip Mohanta, just to speak something for us.
Esteemed Chair and friends, it's very tough to say something on philosophy. Better not to say anything. Only one thing I must mention, that I'm very hopeful. People say I'm very often very optimistic person. Some of my friends are very much skeptical about the future of philosophy in our country and Asia. But you see, like Professor Gangadhar, who is our senior generation professor, we are next generation, and now the presenters, most of them are the third generation. So historically, we are continuing the tradition, sir. Philosophy, to my mind, especially the history of philosophy, is understood in the West in a different sense, in a chronological strategy. But on the other side, the total Western tradition, Eastern tradition, especially in India, we don't look it from this chronological side. So it's very difficult to determine the time of the philosophers. And you see, in a single line, if one commits mistake, if one train meets mistakes, the others cannot proceed. It happens to the history of Indian philosophy started with Max Muller and Radhakrishnan, S.N. Das Gupta. So, in 20th century, end of 20th century, my teacher, Bimal Krishna Matilal and others, and J.N. Mohanty, they tried to see it in different angle. This is problem-oriented. So philosopher's job is not to give a solution like a scientist, but to raise question. This is more important. Raise question and debate. Then what is the nature of this debate? It's fighting, not bullfighting. You know, as yesterday, some of the very distinguished speakers mentioned that suppose you cannot give sufficient argument in favor of a thesis, then you will have to accept the other thesis. This is the wideness, this is the openness of tradition. As said in the Rig Veda, Anubhadra Kravatava Yantu Vishataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from different directions. This is one of the very specific aspects of Indian tradition. The history means problem-oriented history of philosophy. Problem is perennial. If we go through P.F. Strawson's Individuals, a book published in 1959, Strawson, in the introductory part, probably page 7 or 9, I can't remember now, he mentioned the philosophical problems are perennial, and philosopher's job is to interpret it. See, fortunately or unfortunately, while I was in a teaching assignment in England, so after my lecture in the University of London, I was assigned to William Patton Fellow Professor in the University of Birmingham. So invited to University of London sometimes and to Oxford also. Then they asked me, in what, you see, there is no place of in philosophy department of Indian philosophy. It really annoyed me, and then I asked, do you think that what Strawson said in the Individual makes any sense? Philosophic sense? Well, yes, it is quite philosophical, because every time we are discussing it and emerging new, way of looking at things. All right. Then you see, almost 1,000 years ago, than the time of Strawson, a philosopher in India, he is called Jadan Nayyayika, very mastang logician, Jayanta Bhatta. He says, Kuta va natanam vastu mutkrepshitam shkamaha atra bacha vinnasha matram. So why don't you accept it as philosophical? because it is written in Sanskrit and because of the colonial hangover of 200 years, as started with Macaulay, we also started. Till today, if somebody can speak in a very smart English, we consider he is great in his subject. We must change our mindset. I ask all my friends to see whether Kant wrote his critics in English, whether Plato wrote in English. Then why we should always follow the English pattern of looking at things? As you see, for Kant, Immanuel Kant, if something is not an object of experience, we cannot begin to discuss it. Same is there in Shankara. So you are not considering Shankara as an analyst or analytic philosopher there. So we have to, especially in India, we should not suffer from a kind of inferiority complex. We must try to train our future generations, I often call blossoming philosophers. Methodologically, we should try to think in our own way. There are many ways of thinking. However, I admit, straight is the way, narrow is the lane that leadeth unto truth. And the teacher of philosophy is different from teacher of other subject. It is philosophy, I have sufficient doubt whether it can be taught. The philosophy is philosophizing. So when there is a debate between philosophers, at the end, if the quarrel, if the fight with full strength, then friendship also becomes strengthened. So in this way, I congratulate all the speakers, the chair and my friends here. I think this particular platform has given us a chance to refresh our own friendship. And friendship is a virtue, said by Aristotle, as well as in Eastern traditions, especially yoga philosophy and in Buddhism. So very important concept, the virtues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohanta ji. You have listened my request, and I'll